Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a long time and I'm happy to be back, but sad to bring y'all this most devastating video where 24-year-old Aureon Grace, who worked in the kitchen at the Smithfield State Prison in Georgia, was taken out while at work by inmate Jadarius Hart, who she is alleged to have been in a relationship with. This is really sad and unfortunate, y'all. He not only took her out, but he then turned the firearm onto himself, leaving a note behind. Her mother, Deshonda Higgins, spoke out saying the prison is so busy doing damage control. They raided her daughter's home and damaged a lot of things in the home, looking for evidence to prove the two were in a relationship. But I'm not talking about how this inmate got a pow pow in the jail. Of course, y'all know I have an opinion, but first, take a listen.
Questions surrounding a worker's inside a Georgia State prison over the weekend.
Investigators say an inmate managed to get inside Smith State Prison and then kitchen staffer before turning the gun himself. Tonight, investigators say they believe the inmate and victim had a relationship. Fox 5's Rob D'Arienzo has been digging into the details of this very alarming story. Rob?
Yeah, and the biggest concern tonight is people really aren't sure about how that inmate managed to get his hands on a gun behind bars at one of the state's maximum security prisons and then use it. The Department of Corrections still does not have an explanation for us tonight, but we've since learned that the kitchen employee early Sunday morning was just 24 years old. The Georgia Department of Corrections says inmate Jadarius Hart, the Aramark food service worker, inside Smith State Prison in southeast Georgia early Sunday morning. She's been identified as 24-year-old Aureon Grace. The prison says Hart then turned the gun on himself.
That, to me, is shocking to the conscious, and I hope that this is a wake-up call for the Georgia Department of Corrections.
Joshua Schiffer has practiced criminal law in Georgia for 2 decades. He says this incident demonstrates a complete failure by the Department of Corrections leaders.
This institution, Smith, is a notorious institution because it's a high-security institution dealing with some of Georgia's most dangerous and threatening inmates.
Back in October, investigators say an inmate there shanked 42-year-old guard Robert Clark to death from behind. Earlier last year, the GBI charged the prison's warden in a sprawling contraband conspiracy. Hart was serving time for voluntary manslaughter and aggravated battery from a 2015 case out of Carroll County. His earliest release date would have been 2043.
This wasn't a shank or a piece of wood or a razor blade. This was a firearm with ammunition, and everybody needs to realize how dangerous this situation was and how indefensible this is.
The entire state correctional system has been under a years-long federal investigation into allegations of civil rights abuses. The state legislature just formed a committee to review it from top to bottom.
This example is an unfortunate reflection of what's happening in Georgia prisons as a whole.
Just a little while ago, a spokesperson for the prisons told us they believe Hart and Grace had a romantic relationships. They say he did leave behind a suit, but there is still no clear answer about how that gun got into a Supermax facility at this point.
No one deserves to, and especially at work where she was working hard to take care of her kids.
But first, the mother of a woman shot by an inmate at a Georgia prison is speaking only with Fox 5. And that is where we start tonight on News Edge at 11. I'm Christine Spiro.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Tom Haynes. 24-year-old Aureon Grace at Smith State Prison in southeast Georgia over the weekend.
Now her family is sharing their heartbreak and their anger with News Edge reporter Rob D'Arienzo here live in studio.
That's right, guys. Good evening. Well, this family is hurt. They're shocked, but they're also furious with the Georgia Department of Corrections. The mom of 24-year-old Aureon Grace says she was just trying to earn a living, and the prison failed to keep her safe.
I'm really in disbelief of the fact that it was even a firearm in the facility.
24-year-old Aureon Grace's family started getting messages on Facebook early Sunday morning that something was terribly wrong at her job at Smith State Prison.
Inmates were going through social media, looking on her social media to find people related to her.
And that's how Deshonda Higgins found out about her daughter's murder. The prison says inmate Jadarius Hart shot Grace than himself. She was working for the food company Aramark in the kitchen there. Prison officials said Monday they believe Grace and Hart had a personal relationship, but her mom sees that as a deflection.
What does that have to do with an inmate having a gun to kill my child?
And Higgins wants the Department of Corrections to focus on that, how the gun got into a maximum security prison where some of the most violent state convicts stay. She says investigators have ripped apart her daughter's apartment while executing a search warrant, leaving behind this mess.
And bust the bags open all over my grandchildren's stuff. They broke her bed.
It's not clear what, if anything, they found. A spokesperson for the Department of Corrections says that inmate with a contraband phone got in touch with her family before prison staff got a chance.
They totally went in damage control instead of trying to figure out how they can correct the system.
Grace leaves behind a 1-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. The 24-year-old was saving money to go to nursing school.
No one deserves to die. And especially at work where she was working hard to take care of her kids.
And the Georgia Department of Corrections spokesperson says 6 Aramark employees have been told not to come back to their jobs at the prison based on this investigation, but they did not explain why. The food company says they're working with corrections officials to assess employee safety there.
This is sad, and it pisses me off. Her mother is right. No one deserves to be taken out like that. It's sad and unfortunate. I've been watching a lot of videos lately with about females, working in prisons and having relationships, with the inmates, costing them their jobs. But in this case, it cost this young woman her life. I don't know if she was really in a relationship with him, but listening to her mother and longer interviews, I'm leaning on she probably did. It doesn't take away from what he did to her, but I just never understand or understood how women who work in the prison can allow themselves to get caught up with an inmate, especially when you know what they're in for. He was already serving time for manslaughter and aggravated at that, meaning he's a bad dude and may have some loose screws upstairs, Yet some of these females still fall for the hype. I'm sorry, but if I ever worked in a prison, there's no kind of game an inmate can spit to me that would allow me to take things to another level. But that's just my opinion. It's horrible what happened to her. But ladies, we have to make better decisions and better choices. Her mother said she was working there, to get herself through medical school and to take care of her 2 small children who now doesn't have a mother. And if you ask me, no justice either, because he took the coward way out. He offed himself, leaving a note behind. So for me, there's no justice in that and no answers. We already know they were going to try to cover this up, hence why they treated her daughter, even in her demise, like a criminal, to minimize the fact that he was even able to get a firearm into the prison. And I wonder how many staff members knew about the relationship that they was having and how many other staff members done had relations with other prisoners. Because it seems to me that there's a lot going on in that prison, which is why it was been under investigation for the past damn year. Taking out guards, using cell phones, having all kinds of contraband. Yeah, they got a lot going on in that prison. But at least 6 of the workers are gone now. And this is just sad. I want to say rest in paradise to Aureon Grace and keep her and her children in your prayers. Gone way too soon, man. Way too soon. With that said, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. And smash that notification bell so you won't miss out on my next video. Stay blessed. Peace.